Hello and welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about this. And of course, the aforementioned this being the discussion of Expedition's pre-order bonuses as well as different editions which are available to be pre-ordered. Now let's talk about what some of these different editions include, as well as which ones would be the best to get depending on the price point. And what I've decided to do is start at the top and then work my way back down to the standard edition from the most expensive first. The most expensive one being the Supreme Edition, priced at $70 US. If you live in a different region, you can of course do the price conversion based on your region's currency. And going off of what the initial graphic actually lists, the Supreme Edition will come with the base game, the Great Dawn 71, depending on whether or not you think it's a great vehicle, the 96 hours early unlock, which includes pre-order bonuses, and it also includes the year one pass and the Cotco Canyon truck, as well as the Pioneer pack. Now we're going to move down to the year one edition. The year one edition comes in at $60, which is going to be your standard, standard AAA game price, quote unquote, is kind of evolving and changing. And honestly, not to date myself here or anything, but I remember when a brand new game was like 40, and then it was 50, and then it was 60, and then now a lot of brand new AAA games are like 70, 80. So it's definitely wild to actually look at and see the progression of. So anyway, what does the year one edition entail? Well, the year one edition specifically entails the game, the Dawn 71 DLC, or rather the pre-order bonus for the Dawn 71, or the Great Dawn 71, the 96 hours early unlock, as well as the year one pass and the Cotco Canyon truck, but it does not include the Pioneer pack. Now, moving down to the standard edition. Now, the standard edition is going to hit the market at $40 USD, which honestly doesn't seem like all that bad of a price for kind of the game that you're getting if you're only interested in experiencing the base game and not really all that interested in experiencing the DLCs or getting too deep into the game. I don't necessarily think that $40 is too bad as far as for what the game is going to offer, even in its base state. However, when you look at the breakdown, I don't know if the standard edition continues to look like as good of a deal, because when you look at the standard edition, all it gets is the base game and the Great Dawn 71 pre-order bonus, but that's about it. You do not get the 96 hours early unlock, nor do you get the year one pass, the Canyon truck, or the Pioneer pack like you would in the two other editions, or rather some of them in the year one and then all of them in the Supreme Edition. And now that we've broken down all of the pre-order bonuses and also the prices for the game itself, let's talk about how Expeditions will also have a pass, a DLC pass, a seasonal pass, just like SnowRunner did, and honestly continues to have at this point. Because, I have some conflicted feelings about it, and I think a lot of people at this point are a little burnt on the seasonal DLC structure in this series, or at least after the way it was handled in terms of SnowRunner. Because obviously, in the case of SnowRunner, new seasons brought new content, new maps, new trucks, and new missions as well. But they also brought new issues to the game itself, and they brought new issues to the overall experience, because there were some seasons that once dropped made a lot of things within the game not function properly anymore, like multiplayer or mod support, or all of these different things that players were using on a regular basis that all of a sudden, now that this update had been released, didn't really work anymore. And that, of course, led to very sour attitudes towards upcoming and new seasons of DLC, which led to lower interest in the community, which also led to a lot of distrust towards future releases. And the reason I bring that up is because if you're gonna stick with this seasonal based model, you're also going to have to address a lot of the issues that this season-based model kind of created. Now, obviously, I don't think it was the fault of having a season-based model that caused a lot of the issues that SnowRunner's DLCs ended up having. However, you have a lot of players that were very burnt by repeated attempts to just say, well, we know that these issues exist now, and we're working on it. A month goes by, 2 months go by, 3 months go by, 4 months, sometimes even more months go by, and you still say, we're working on it. And eventually, and I know this might sound kind of almost like cold, but like, if you just keep giving people the same message of we're working on it, they can say, well, while you work on it, I'm going to go play all these other games over here and not really worry about this one, because a lot of people gave up on this game after, or rather SnowRunner anyway, after kind of a string of updates that caused a lot of issues. Now, obviously, I don't think any of the accusations that I've seen thrown around towards the developers that have been super hostile, I don't think any of that is valid. I mean, I think obviously the development team has been through the ringer, I'm sure, in terms of working on and supporting the continued future of the Runner series, especially knowing that they've had multiple projects that they're working on. And so obviously, I don't have any interest in seeing anybody in the community vilify the developers, although at the same time, I definitely think that they could improve the way they communicate these things with their community. Because at this point, I mean, when you have a series, for one, that has been running for as long as this one has, you need that level of communication. And if you don't have that level of communication, regardless of what you're working on, if you don't communicate that to your fan base and to your community, people are kind of just, sadly, a large portion of the community is just going to think you're not working on anything, or that you don't really care, when even if you do, and you are working hard on prepping a bunch of new improvements and preparing new updates, or rather working on bug fixes, if you're not transparent enough about that with the community, they don't necessarily know that that's what you're working on, and so they kind of just adopt whatever fuels their frustration and anger over the bugs that they're still dealing with within their own game. And I'm only saying this from the experience that I've had with my own channel and kind of my own space in regards to community. I'm sure that it is no easy task trying to manage the messaging in terms of, you know, the Runner series in general, with SnowRunner, MudRunner, Expeditions now. All of these different games obviously have diverse fan bases that kind of all want different things. And then once that happens, you find yourself with these sort of, I almost want to call it the Need for Speed problem, which the Need for Speed problem is a community that is so vast that no matter what you do, there's always going to be some group of players that feel as though you've wronged them. Because, I mean, look at any new Need for Speed game that comes out. Like, oh, this game, no matter how many good stuff it has, like, or rather how many good things it has, it's like, oh, you don't have nighttime. Oh, bad game in, you know, community's eyes or whatever. Oh, you don't have patrol cars. Well, bad game in the community's eyes. Or you don't have this body kit for this car, and then now this part of the community is mad. So, and while the Runner series is obviously very different, I think you still run into some similar issues because, again, you have players from a very wide spectrum that want different things out of this experience and kind of all think that the experience that they want must be the universal experience that everybody else that plays the game wants. And then that, of course, leads to confusion and disagreement. And, well, I wanted this, and then the devs gave me this. So obviously they're quote unquote, ignoring the community or not doing what the community wants, or they're focusing on the wrong thing. And then it snowballs into people thinking the devs don't care about the game or care about the community. I'm sure they care about the game, and I'm sure they care about the fan base. However, at the same time, I feel like there's always going to be a part of the community that is going to not really like what the devs do no matter what. And so it's kind of a strange, sort of almost double-edged sword that you have to deal with. But at the end of the day, that is my thoughts on really the announcement of the pricing of the game, as well as the announcement of the DLC and pre-order bonus roadmap. And we will have more on Expeditions soon. And if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on, and I'll see y'all next time.